Eugenio Suarez hits 4 home runs, and the Arizona Diamondbacks still lose to the Atlanta Braves. We've got that. We've got shutouts. We've got walk-offs in this episode of MLB Game Night.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into MLB Game Night, your source of daily recaps of Major League Baseball like only the Locked On Podcast Network can provide. I'm your host, Lindsey Crosby, host of the Braves Postcast. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. Pleased to be joined by my friend Steve Lennox, host of the Boston Red Sox Postcast over on Locked On Red Sox. You can follow him on social media at Lennox on Baseball. And Steve, what a Saturday of games. We saw something that's happened 3 times in Major League Baseball history. The Atlanta Braves beat the Arizona Diamondbacks 8-7 in 10 innings. But third baseman Eugenio Suarez hit 4 home runs in a losing effort. Guess the last time that a team allowed 4 homers to the same player in the game and won.
I'm going to guess a long time ago.
1986. Bob Horner of the Braves hit 4 home runs, but the Montreal Expos still won. You wear an Expos hat in the show sometimes. You're a fan there. Yeah. Before that, 1896. You always love when something crazy happens.
That's not the modern day era.
That's not the modern era.
Yeah.
Here's my friend Jake Mastriani of Locked On Braves with his thoughts about what was a wild win for Atlanta.
Atlanta Braves win a wild one in Arizona in extra innings to clinch the series over the Diamondbacks, a game that had 4 home runs for Eugenio Suarez, but the Atlanta Braves come back to win thanks to some big hits by Michael Harris. Jake Mastriani here from Locked On Braves, and this to me is easily the most crazy game of the year that the Atlanta Braves have had, and they continue to find ways to win. The vibe is just different with this team right now. You just felt confident that at some point they were going to come back in this game, and they did so with, once again, another big 8th inning. 2 outs, work a couple of walks, and then, as I mentioned, Michael Harris coming up with a huge hit. He's able to hit a line drive over Alek Thomas's head in center field. A really good center fielder, and Michael Harris was able to burn him to give the Braves the lead. Iggy does blow it in the 9th inning, but the Braves get that Manfred runner in the 10th inning, and Dylan Lee able to hold on for the final out. A review turned it over just to add on to the craziness, but the Braves get the win. We'll talk more about it over on the Postcast and Locked On Braves.
Yeah, and Steve, great win for Atlanta. Like Jake said, crazy game. But I want to point out the thing he said about Raisel Iglesias. Last year, 4 home runs in 259 batters and 69 in the 3rd innings. This year, 5 home runs in 10 innings and 40 batters. Should the Braves be concerned about their closer?
You know what? No, because when the Braves opened over to start the season, people were panicking, but you've got to ride him out. He's not in, I don't think, personally, I wouldn't say that he's in that position right now. But Lee does a nice job, leaves that tying run at third base in the bottom half of the 10th inning after they got the lead in the top of the 10th, as you and Jake alluded to. So, he could possibly be an option. You know better than me, but Lee comes in there and gets you 3 ground ball outs and leaves that runner at third. He got the save in that situation. And that's what you want. You don't want that backbreaker where they come and get 2 runs in the bottom of the inning when, you lost the lead in the 9th and you got it back in the 10th.
Yeah. Road teams feel like they win a lot of extra innings games with this new setup right now.
Yes.
And Daisybel Hernandez goes in the 8th. They use Dylan Lee in the 10th. It works out. We'll see what the Braves do with Iglesias. But talking about riding.
The Braves, though, they're creeping. They're right there. They're 2 under 500.
The Braves are no longer in last place in the East for the first time this season. So
3 wins in a row and 7 of 8. And that's I give a big credit to the team, but I also give a lot of credit to Brian Snitker as well with that.
Yeah, and obviously to me for being positive. Thank you for not, for recognizing I've not given up on my Atlanta Braves just yet. Talking about riding a guy, we mentioned that. The Mets take down the Nationals 2-0. Clay Holmes, 5 innings, no runs allowed, 4 hits, no walks, 2 strikeouts, but gets 10 ground ball outs passes the baton down. Eventually, Edwin Diaz gets a scoreless ninth inning for a seventh save. Are the Mets, like, they've won 8 out of 9 now. Are they the best team in the National League East that's not the Dodgers, or in the National League that's not the Dodgers?
Right now, yes. Good comeback, and Clay Holmes and 5 relievers combining on the shutout. I give the Mets organization a huge amount of credit. And I guess there were a couple of teams that were interested in Holmes as a starter during free agency last winter. He signs with the Mets, and he's had a couple of games where his pitch count has gotten up there early. And they're going to have to monitor him throughout the course of the season because it's been a long time since he's been a starter over the course of 162. As you said, the ground ball outs were effective for him. He doesn't need to be a strikeout pitcher. He's got a great changeup. Put the ball in play. Let your defense do it. And Francisco Alvarez, helps his pitcher out as he hits the 2-run home run to account for the only 2 runs.
Second game of the season for him after starting the year on the IL. Nice to have him back. Here's Chris Schubert from from the Mets postcast about their victory.
This has been a weird series so far for the Mets in Washington, but they were able to get back into the win column, defeating the Washington Nationals 2-0 behind excellent starting pitching from Clay Holmes and Francisco Alvarez hitting his first home run of the season. Despite 2 rain delays, one at the start of the game and one in the bottom of the first, didn't slow down Clay Holmes at all. His best start of the season, 5 scoreless innings, and he played right into his strengths. Ground balls, ground balls, ground balls. The Nats, they played a helping hand in him having those 5 shutout innings, and it was Francisco Alvarez in his 5th at-bat of the season, taking one to the opposite field. The only 2 runs that the Mets would need, courtesy of that 2-run home run. The bullpen did the rest of the work after Clay Holmes left, and the Mets are back in the win column and move to 19-8 on the season. It'll be Tyler McGill tomorrow as they will look to take their second win of this 4-game series, and they'll look to keep things rolling and start a new winning streak.
I think the big question for the Nationals here is, can they actually get a hit with runners in scoring position? They were 0 for 2 today, left 8 on base. Every hit was a single. They just were not even getting guys to scoring position. We'll see what happens in the series finale. Astros at Royals. Royals win 2-0. Second straight 2-0 win that they've had in this series. Win streak is now 6 games in a row. Before we break it down, I want to hear from Jack Johnson from Locked On Royals about the victory.
18 consecutive shutout innings for the Royals pitching staff against the Astros in this series as they take Game 2, 2-0 tonight at Kauffman Stadium. I'm your host of Locked On Royals, Jack Johnson. Big takeaway from tonight's game is that this starting rotation, whether you had any doubts about them, some guys regressing so far in April, that just hasn't been a thing. We've seen a great outing from Seth Lugo. No, Michael Wacha piggybacks that with a 6-inning performance, shutout baseball, and the bullpen does its job. Also, a little note here, the Royals trusted Steven Cruz to get them through a high-leverage spot, and that he did with a 1-2-3 inning. Still, the offense not giving you enough, but that's now 6 consecutive victories for this ball club. When Kyle Isbell popped out last Saturday in Detroit, they were losers of 6 in a row. And who would have thought that right after that, they would respond with a performance like this? Now they are looking to cap off a perfect homestand tomorrow with Chris Bubich on the bump.
What stood out to you from this game, Steve? Because there was a lot of really good performances that just kind of went unrewarded.
Yeah, and I think there's a theme. We talked about the Mets and their 2-0 victory. We talk about the Royals now, how the managers use the bullpens. And how those guys in the bullpens, in those situations, you heard Jack right there talk about a high leverage situation, but they get the job done. Cruz, Schreiber, Estevez, all a scoreless inning. Estevez works the 9th inning, 7th save on the season. But both the Mets and Royals on Saturday shutout victories, and they needed length in the bullpen, and they got it.
Yeah, I feel bad for Framber Valdez. 8 innings, 2 runs, takes the hard luck loss. He's now 1-3 on the year. That's just that's absolutely a bummer. Another close game. This one won by a pinch hitter. 3-2. Giants take down the Rangers at home on Saturday. Patrick Bailey gets a chance to come in the game as a pinch hitter. He had the day off, gets the walk-off win. 4th time this season the Giants have done it. I thought Robbie Ray had one of his best starts of the year in this one. 7 innings, 2 earned, 1 walk to 8 strikeouts. Obviously, no decision, but with the way the Giants are kind of rolling right now, this feels like this is a postseason team, and the NL East and the NL West are going to have to battle to figure out who gets more than one team in the wild card.
Yeah, if you're in the East or you're in the Central right now, you're looking at the West and you're saying we better win our division.
Yeah.
And I love what the Giants are doing here, and I think they can certainly, every team's going to need a piece or two at the trade deadline, but they can take on contracts. They can take on a team's bad contract. They have a lot of flexibility in terms of what they're going to be able to do come July. But Robbie Ray, strong performance. Walker, a couple of hits allowed in the ninth inning, but manages to strike out 2 and working a scoreless ninth. And, Patrick Bailey makes me feel old because I've seen this kid. I saw him at USA Baseball events years ago when he was 15, 16, 17 years old. So he's now an established big leaguer and comes through in a big way on Saturday.
Yeah. Jack Leiter makes his return off the injured list for the series finale on Sunday versus Jordan Hicks. That'll be really fun to watch. And just quick heads up here, Blue Jays Yankees rained out on Saturday. They get a doubleheader on Sunday. Going to wrap the series. Reminder, Jays won game 1 4-2 on Friday. In just a second, let's get to the Pirates Dodgers. It's been a surprisingly fun series. We'll do that next right here on MLB Game Night. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No consoles required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. You can dive into hundreds of premium titles. EA Sports College Football 25, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, whatever it might be, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. My family, we love taking this when we go on a vacation, we go on a trip, right? We don't have to take the entire Xbox. We can just take the Fire TV Stick 4K, plug it into the TV in the hotel, the Airbnb, wherever we are. As long as we brought our controllers and have internet access, we can play video games. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. It's available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K second generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max first and second generation, and Fire TV Cube third generation. Steve, this Pirates-Dodgers series has been really good. Pirates take the opener 3-0 behind Paul Skeens. Today, Dodgers even the series 1-all with an 8-4 win. And I don't know what I expected. I guess maybe I thought the Dodgers would have an easier time than they've had so far in this series.
Yeah, I think John thought the same thing when the Pirates were in Anaheim earlier in the week. Right? But yeah, this was a 4-4 game until it wasn't. And the Dodgers, put it away with 4 runs in the 8th inning, hit a couple of home runs against the bullpen. And the narrative right now is true for the Pirates. They just have not given this team on the field enough to compete over 9 innings on some nights. Skeens, you absolutely have to win his starts. They've got some pieces, but on any given night, and this series is 1-1, they've given themselves a chance to go 2-1 in Anaheim, 2-1 in LA against the Dodgers if they win the series finale. But the Dodgers sometimes just have too much, and it overwhelm a team. The Pirates didn't do anything in the 9th inning, and again, series even 1-1.
Yeah. Here's Jeff Snyder from Locked On Dodgers with some of his thoughts about the victory.
Well, it's only 1 win, but when we talk about the depth of this Dodgers lineup, a game like this is kind of what we picture. What's up? This is Jeff from Locked On Dodgers. Not everybody contributed in this game. Mookie Betts didn't have any hits. Michael Conforto continues to struggle, but enough guys contributed, and the Dodgers have so many weapons that Shohei Ohtani's 3 extra base hits. Teoscar Hernandez, a couple big hits, including a big go-ahead home run. Andy Paz has 3 more hits. Freddie Freeman had a clutch hit to drive in a run. Kike Hernandez, pinch hit, 3-run home run. It's one of those games where you can allow yourself to be frustrated about the guys who still aren't hitting, or you can look and say, oh, the Dodgers just had 11 hits and 8 runs and they won a game, because not everybody has to hit. If they can just get enough guys going, and they'll alternate sometimes. Sometimes Mookie will have the big game, but this is the kind of thing that we're hoping for from the Dodgers. get a lot of hits, even when you're not getting contributions from everybody. And we will take more 8-4 wins, even if it does mess with Tanner Scott's save total, because he doesn't get enough save situations. We'll take it. Check out Locked On Dodgers every weekday morning on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts.
Thanks, Jeff. And they have the series finale tomorrow. I'm kind of curious to see what happens there. Another series that is rather close now, Phillies at Cubs. Phillies in their 5-game losing streak, 10-4 win at Wrigley. We've got both sides of this. Let's hear from Connor Thomas of Locked On Phillies about the Philadelphia victory.
Finally, the Philadelphia Phillies have won a baseball game. They snapped their 5-game losing streak. Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies. And the offense woke up today for the fighting Phils. They scored double-digit runs. The second Saturday in a row they've done that. Maybe it's a Saturday thing. Maybe we need to tell them every game is on Saturday. Whatever the case may be, Jesus Luzardo was awesome on the mound for the Phillies today. The offense really woke up and took advantage of what they could against the Cubs pitching staff. I mean, this was a game where this looked more like what you want the Phillies offense to look like. The problem is they did this against the Marlins, and then, well, they went on a 5-game losing streak. So consistency is the key. It's not just about having one day of offensive explosion, one big 6-run inning early on that makes you feel comfortable about the game. It's about sustaining this level of offense. And the question is, can the Phillies do that? And can they do this with other pitchers in their rotation besides just Jesus Luzardo? We'll talk about it more on Monday's episode of Locked On Phillies.
Can I go 2 things there?
Yes, 2 things.
First, I feel like Connor got that wind in there because they're playing the friendly confines in Chicago where the wind is blowing out or the wind is blowing in. 2, to his point, and what the Phillies did on Saturday is exactly what we were talking about Friday. Where's the offense when you're not hitting the ball to the park? And that big run inning, no home runs. Now there are a couple of wind-aided hits in there and a couple of they were legit hits. But this is what the Phillies are capable of doing. As Connor said, consistency. And that's been the Phillies in the past. But where is it this year? It's probably coming.
It felt like some of the approaches there in the 4th inning were a little bit better, not trying to hit the ball out of the yard because they knew with the wind, you're probably not going to do it. And then when the wind shifts later, Max Kepler pops a solo home run in the 7th. But just very different approaches. They need to bring those back, to your point. They need to bring those back and be more consistent with that. Here's Sam Ober of Locked On Cubs. I imagine he's going to feel a little bit frustrated about how this game went for Chicago.
Chicago Cubs get beat by the Phillies on Saturday 10-4 as Ben Brown really struggled. I'm Sam Ober from Locked On Cubs, and it was some tough luck for Ben Brown, to be honest. Some balls that just fell. But he's been very prone to the big inning this year. And this start is becoming a little bit too common of a theme where Brown's cruising along and then runs into one big inning that defines his outing. It was a 6-run 4th inning. He did hit Kyle Schwarber to start the inning, hung a breaking ball to Castellanos, hung a breaking ball to Bryce Harper. And, these losses happen, right? They're not going to really bother you over the course of 162. The Phillies are a very talented team. They were slumping. They were due to get hot. We'll have to see what happens with Ben Brown if he could bounce back. His ERA now is over 6. That'll be a conversation point, I'm sure. But I'm very interested to see how the Cubs bounce back Sunday night with an opportunity to really put an exclamation point on this homestand. And Locked On Cubs will be with you to talk about it right after the game. Big game, Sunday Night Baseball. Cubs lose on Saturday.
Aaron Nola versus Jamison Tyone. That's the kind of matchup you want to see 2 veterans on Sunday Night Baseball. Let's rapid fire through the rest of this segment real quick. Rays at Padres. Rays win 4-1, won the first 2 games of the series. We talked about the Padres having such a great start to the year, but it feels like this is some of the injuries starting to catch up with them, right? They're missing Jackson Merrill. They're missing Luis Ariz, a couple of these guys. Ryan Pepio has a great outing, 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, strikes out 3. Same thing you mentioned earlier, bullpen usage. You set up Biggie, Fairbanks, all go out and give a scoreless inning. Fairbanks gets the 5th save. They're now in position to potentially get a sweep on Sunday.
Red Sox Guardians, no sweep in the doubleheader. Guardians take game 1, scored 4 runs off Tanner Houck in the bottom of the first inning, ended up winning game 1, Lindsey, 5-4. Game 2 going to the Red Sox. They jumped down to a 6-0 lead, won it 7-3. Walker Buehler, Tanner Houck, watch Walker Buehler because that's how you should go out and throw a baseball game. Ended up giving up 3 earned runs, but Red Sox are now 5-1 in Buehler's 6 starts, 1-5 in Tanner Houck's 6 starts to open the season. How about in game 2, Lindsey? Jarren Duran, if you look at his line, 3 hits, his line, he had a triple in the game. Very familiar to a lot of games from 2024 for Jarren Duran. Also, 16th anniversary for the Red Sox, and Jacoby Ellsbury last had a straight steal of home. He did it against the Yankees April 26, 2009. Duran, after his triple that knocked in a run, stole home in the 3rd inning.
What a great little tribute there. That's always kind of nice. And then Emmanuel Clase made an appearance, finally came back from his day-to-dayness there, got I think a 1-2-3 eighth with 2 strikeouts. So there you go. Just a little bit of some of everything in that doubleheader. Brewers at Cardinals. This was a wild game. Cardinals win their 2nd straight 1-run game. They're like now 2-5. It's the first 2 they've won all year, but they won 6-5, but they were up 5-0 through 4 innings. Brewers got a 2-run home run from Jackson Chourio in the 9th to tie it at 5. Nolan Arenado turned around and got the winning home run in the bottom of the 9th. First walk-off of the year for them, 6th walk-off in the career of Nolan Arenado. Any concern that Ryan Helsley gave up that home run to Jackson Chourio? We've talked so much about closers and how they get overused a little bit. Any concerns about this? He's been a little bit shaky this year.
Only if it continues to snowball.
Right.
Closers have to have a very short memory. And Helsley gives up the home run, ends up with the victory. He doesn't want that. He wants to save. He wants to end it. But, Nolan Arenado's writing a great story this year. And it might be up and down in terms of his production, but he's doing a terrific job for that offense. And, they did have 35,000 plus at Busch Stadium. I looked at that attendance number, and that's a good number because, and I don't know if it's an hour before game time, 3rd inning, you see some of these images and they're like, this is the crowd at Busch Stadium. You don't know. I never look enough into them to see when it's actually taken, but to see Busch Stadium with 35,000 plus on a Saturday, late April, I love it.
Yes, especially when they've been seeing the attendance be going down a little bit.
Yeah.
Year to year,
and maybe rightfully so. Yeah. Send a message.
Right. When we come back, we're going to get another doubleheader, Baltimore at Detroit. I'm a little concerned about the Orioles. We'll talk about that next, right here on MLB Game Night. Orioles visiting Detroit for a doubleheader. Tigers win both games. Game 1, 4-3. Game 2, 6-2. Let's listen to Scott Bentley real quick from Locked On Tigers with his thoughts on how the day went at the Yard in Detroit.
Detroit Tigers take both games in a doubleheader against the Baltimore Orioles. I'm Scott Bentley, host of Locked On Tigers. And the Tigers are now 17-10 with the best record in the American League. And quietly, one of the best records in all of baseball. They are 12-3 now at home. And while they're up, and take the first 2 games of a series against Baltimore, they have Scooble going on Sunday for the sweep. Story of the day, yet again, is pitching held the Orioles to 2 runs and 3 runs in both of these games. Cater Montero called up from AAA, only gives up 1 run. Brant Herter missing spots all night, but is able to tough it out and limit damage. The bullpen continues to be absolutely elite by every definition of the word. Casey Mize, great yet again, only gives up 1 run, getting swings and misses. Torkelson homer, Green homer, and Zach McKinstry may literally be the best baseball player alive. What a time. What a time to be alive, baby. The Detroit Tigers, the best team in the American League. We'll talk about that and more tomorrow on Locked On Tigers.
I love the passion and the energy there. And Zach McKinstry's a ball player. Like, he plays like 5 different positions. He does them all above average. Reminds me of the old Ben Zobrist days.
Yeah, that's a good one. And you know what? They recently moved Javier Baez to center field to move Riley Green out of center. This is an organization right now. They've all bought in. You mentioned a guy like McKinstry. They move around a lot. They have a lot of moving parts, and no one's above it to say, I want to bat in this spot in the lineup. AJ Hinch, front office, they move a lot of guys around. They have a lot of flexibility, and Scott's happy right now. But, Torkelson, McKinstry, RBI doubles in the 7th inning, and the O's are just going in the wrong direction right now. They need something positive. I don't know when it comes.
They moved Charlie Morton to relief. He pitches in game 2 here. 3 2/3, 3 runs, 5 walks, gives up a home run to Riley Green. He's now 0-6. They've lost 5 of 6, and they've scored a total of 12 runs in those games. So Orioles, wrong direction. You kind of hate to see that. Kind of curious about what's going to happen for them going from here. Angels at Twins. Twins win the series 5-1. 13 hits. They've now won 4 out of 5. Carlos Correa looks great. 2 hits, 2 RBI. Simeon Woods Richardson, I thought, had a good start for them. Not incredibly deep, but 5 1/3, 1 run, no walks to 7 strikeouts. And the no walks is big because he's had issues with that in the past. Do the Twins have a chance of playing well enough to not get everybody fired at the end of the year? Or is this just a bad opponent in the Angels? Sorry, John.
I want to believe in the Twins. I mean, they were right there until they weren't in September, and we just talked about the Tigers. They just rolled through. I don't know. I mean, you mentioned Carlos Correa, and immediately I think Correa, Buxton, Royce Lewis is apparently going out on a rehab assignment. I think I read that yesterday, and that's a great thing. But again, they're 1 injury away from right now a team that's 5 under 500. They could be 10 games under 500 if they continue. Just these guys who have the history of injuries end up on the IL again this year.
Yeah, and this is something. It's going to help when they get Lewis back, simply because Brooks Lee can go take over second base. That's been a bit of a
extend the lineup
for them. Yeah, without Willie Castro available right now, he's still on the IL. But yeah, I'm a little concerned about their ability to maintain if one more guy gets hurt, especially because Buxton's done so much for them this year. The sprint speed's back to his elite days. He's hitting home runs. He's playing every game. Back to the guy he was. It makes you worried if something happens to him. Can Carlos Correa and everybody else pick up the slack?
They've won 4 of 5, but they're still 5 under 500. Just to get to 500 is going to take a lot. I mean, let's see Memorial Day. This is one of those teams. Let's see Memorial Day where they're at, and I think you'll have a better indication of what they're going to be for this season.
There you go. Reds at Rockies. They head into Colorado. They win 6-4. They are now 2 up in the series. They have a chance to get the sweep on Sunday. Here is Jeff Carr from Locked On Reds, who is a little bit thrilled, a little bit giddy about this game.
Cincinnati Reds got a key night from Austin Hayes and some insurance in the 9th to win the series in Colorado. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast. And the Cincinnati Reds have won 2 out of 3. They've got a chance to sweep on Sunday, taking care of business in Colorado. Hasn't been the best pitched series, although they pitched well enough to win on Saturday. It's been the bats that have been coming up in clutch situations, and Austin Hayes has been leading the way. Terry Francona said after the game that the team is just different with Austin Hayes in the lineup. 2 home runs on Saturday afternoon, and then the Reds were able to play a little bit of add-on in the 9th inning with Ellie De La Cruz and Spencer Steer both getting some RBIs. But overall, this has been the kind of series that the Reds need to play. Not perfect, but get the win, get out of Colorado with a series win, maybe a series sweep, and then you got 4 against the Cardinals starting on Monday. More to come. Hopefully they get that sweep.
All right. Hunter Green, thrilled about what he did in this one for the most part. Did give up 2 home runs, but 6 innings, 3 earned. Still a quality start. No walks to 8 strikeouts. That's kind of big there. What's the concern level 1 through 10 for the Colorado Rockies right now, who are now 4-22?
I texted a friend today that lives out there in Denver, and he was at the game, and they've got another great crowd. They support the team, win, lose, good, bad, and they've been bad for a while now. They're now 4-22. I don't know where this turns around in terms of when do they be. It's almost as if they get a free pass. Great ballpark, great fan base, great venue, great atmosphere. Go out, have a couple of beers, be on your way. They win, they lose. We still had a good time at the ballpark. It's been too long for the Rockies. And again, I mean, how do you develop pitching there? You just don't. They've got some hitters. They're young, but these guys have to understand you're in the big leagues now. It's all about production, and you get it, but then you don't get it. And they got no production from their 1 through 3 hitters. 0 for 13 on Saturday. That's not getting
6 strikeouts too. Half the time they weren't even putting the ball into play. That's just tough. They're 3-8 in Colorado, which means they've obviously only won 1 game away from there. So just a lot of adversity there. A team that's now no longer the worst team in baseball from a record perspective. The White Sox head into Sacramento, even up this series against the A's. 10-3 victory. 4 in the first, 2 more in the second. Luis Robert finally kind of gets going, has that solo shot in the first. I think it was a solo shot in the first. But just snapped a 3-game win streak by the A's. And I'm trying to see if we have anything. I think we actually have something from Booney here about how this game went.
The White Sox came into today's game ready to play, and Jeffrey Springs gave them exactly what they wanted. Batting practice in broad daylight. This is Booney with Locked On A's. And in another brutal outing, Jeffrey Springs couldn't locate anything. And when he did, it got smoked. The A's dropped Game 2 in ugly fashion, 10-3, getting punched in the mouth early and never responding. A's fans hyped after a thrilling win against the Rangers on Thursday and an exciting game win over the Sox were left sitting in stunned silence as the White Sox piled on run after run. The White Sox have their issues, but they have young talent that are no pushover, and no team in the American League is good enough to look past any team. White Sox were just flat out better than us today. Rubber match tomorrow.
Were we too quick to say that the A's could possibly even contend for a wild card? Are they still a year away? Were we just too soon on saying the A's were back?
I want to see them be a 500 team this year. Take that next step. And then, you've got year 2 in Sacramento next year. It's going to be hard over the course of this entire season in that ballpark. And maybe next year they're better suited knowing what the atmosphere is and how they have to pitch and all those different things. Yeah. I think 500, and that's basically what they are right now, a game under 500. By the way, Booney and sugarcoating don't go together at all. He does not mince words, right? I love it.
Big fan.
But no, I want to see the A's be a 500 team this year overall. I really do. It's going to take some doing, but Severino anchoring that staff, he stays healthy. I think it's possible.
And the offense is great. They have just so much young talent.
It's going to get better. It's just going to improve.
Nick Kurtz now has 4 games under his belt, 3 for 13, 3 RBIs. He has an RBI single in the 9th inning than this one. This has been MLB Game Night, right? For all the action from Saturday the 26th. Do us a favor. You're listening on audio on the Locked On MLB feed. Send it to a friend. Leave us a 5-star review. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to Locked On MLB. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live, because this show is 7 days a week. Until tomorrow night, this has been MLB Game Night.